our third and final guest speaker this week on our WiseOceans Shark Week. I'd like to introduce you to Chloe from Maldives Whale Shark Research Program. I always have trouble saying that, I'm not sure why. We are super excited to have her here today, and I know lots of you are very excited about meeting her and asking her questions and learning about the wonderful whale shark. And I'm just gonna double check that everything is working well here. Please, oh yes, it's all working. Excellent. We've had a few technical issues this week, but it's really look like they're working, so that's great. Gemma says, hello, Chloe. I'll have to do lots of Rosalind, and lots of people are saying hi. So that's fantastic. So put your questions in the comments. We'll do our best to get to as many as possible. Oh, there's lots of you there already, so that's fantastic. So I think without further ado, I will hand over to Chloe, who's going to share her presentation and talk to you about whale sharks. And yeah, who wants to listen to me when we've got you here? So.
Well, thank you, Charlotte. Okay, so guys, I'm just going to share my screen so you can actually see my presentation. So let's go. Oh no, starting from the wrong place. So we'll start from the beginning. So today I'm just going to talk to you all a little bit about what I do and about whale sharks in general, just their characteristics, you know, it's really simple facts, lots of different facts. So we will begin. So the Maldives Whale Shark Research Program is who I work for. I usually work in Infield in the Maldives, which I'm usually very jammy about, but today I'm...
Do you want to explain to some of our younger viewers maybe where Maldives are and what they're like?
Yes, I will explain to you where the Maldives is. It's kind of like below and slightly to the left of sort of India, Sri Lanka way. So I'm over there, and I'll show you a little map a bit later on.
Oh, okay, sorry, I just barged in there without even thinking.
No, it's fine, don't worry. So yeah, Maldives Whale Shark Research Program, we have been going for about 14 years. We've been conducting research there in the Maldives, which I will talk a little bit about later. So we're also a charity, a non-profit and an NGO. So for the younger kids, you might not quite understand what those things are, but it's okay because you don't need to worry about that. So first off, we're going to kick off with a little bit about biology and whale shark characteristics. So this is our lovely Duncan, the whale shark. He's actually a shark in our database.
Duncan, did you say?
Duncan, yeah, it's a really...
Duncan looks very cute.
Duncan is very cute. No, they're all very cute. So I'm biased though, aren't I? So yeah, he's a whale shark. The Latin name for whale shark is Rhynchodon typus. In Maldivian, it's actually called Fekuri. So I really like that word. It's a very good word. So first off, the whale shark is a shark. It's not a whale. A lot of people still seem to get confused. So when we're talking about sharks, we're talking about cartilaginous fish. So cartilage is the stuff that you have like in your ears and your nose. So cartilaginous fish, got that down. And there's also the biggest fish in the world. So a very exciting title for this beautiful spotty whale shark, isn't it? So they're cold-blooded as well. And they're also very deep diving. So their divest actually, the divest? Oh my gosh. The deepest diving whale shark ever recorded is actually one that was recorded to dive to 1,923 meters, which is insanely deep. So I think that is it probably gets superseded by the research that's coming out now, but we can talk a little bit about that later. They're also a very long-lived fish. So new research is kind of indicating that maybe they could live up to something like 130 years. So really, really old. As you noticed already, there's a lot of new research coming out that I'm talking about. It's very typical.
So exciting.
Yeah, no, it is really exciting. Like a lot of shark species, there's not like as much research being, well, there's lots of research being done, but we need to know more so that we can like protect these species, because the whale shark, for instance, is endangered. So we really need to learn more in order to be able to protect it properly. So a little bit about biology, you know, bodily characteristics. We're just going to run through them, starting with the mouth of the whale shark. So for a really big whale shark, we have a very big mouth. Sometimes it can be like about 1.5 meters. I was going to say centimeters then. 1.5 meters, maybe even more for bigger sharks. So that is a terminal mouth, meaning it's like at the front of the face. It's not kind of like the ventral side like a lot of other shark species. We also have a very lovely big eye right here. So I can tell you some really cool facts about eyes later on. But yeah, we have big eyes on the whale shark. We don't know a lot about how they perceive, how they see. Still lots to be discovered. We also have this little organ here. Where is my mouse?
Chloe, I'm not sure that
you
slides are moving.
But you're not sure the what's moving?
The slides are moving.
Oh no, it's okay. We're still
Oh, it's okay. Okay, I thought you
were still on the same slide. I was just trying to see if my mouse wanted to show up. I guess she does.
Okay. I think it is, yeah. Oh, that's fine. My confusion.
No, it's okay. So yeah, right here behind the eye, we have this organ called the spiracle. So the spiracle is a really funny organ because the whale shark is part of the carpet shark family. Carpet sharks are usually these kind of, well, it's related to the carpet shark. It's usually this family of sharks that will rest on the bottom. So they usually need this organ, the spiracle, to help them respire when they're resting on the bottom, because they won't have the water constantly passing through their gills. However, like as far as we know in whale shark science, the whale shark is always swimming. So it's a little bit of a mystery still why they have a spiracle. Maybe yet to be discovered, who knows? Or maybe it's just
very interesting, yeah.
We have gills, lovely gills here, very lovely big gills, five sets of gill clefts. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, used for respiring. So like you and I respire, the whale shark needs to respire as well, and it will like harness the oxygen from the water. We're going to go over a little bit about, no, we'll go to the fins next actually. So right here we have large pectoral fins, one very nice first dorsal fin, a second dorsal fin, the tail or the caudal fin as it's also known. So we have the upper caudal fin and the lower caudal fin, anal fin and pelvic fin. I'm going to jumble up my words a lot today, I think.
It's all good.
So we have very like lovely large lateral lines along the body there, kind of used as like a sensory part of the sensory organ system. So all fish have a lateral line. So the whale shark has very, very deep ones here. Obviously, another important factor that I haven't said about yet is that they're very spotty. And we're going to move on to a little bit more about how the whale sharks, famous spots come into our research a bit later. But every whale shark has their own unique spot pattern. So that is like how we have our unique fingerprints. The whale shark has their very own spot pattern. So Duncan's here is completely different to all the other sharks out there, which is exciting. And lastly, just to mention, you can't really see it in this image, but whale sharks also have the sensory pits in their face like all other sharks. So basically they sense electrical fields, which is very, very exciting. So we're going to move on a little bit to where are whale sharks found in the world. So whale sharks have a global distribution. Kind of in that red band you can see across the world in the image. This is the tropics of Cancer and Capricorn. So mostly they're found in these kind of coastal hotspots. So places like Maldives, where we actually have a year-round aggregation. So it's very special. It's the only one in the world that occurs naturally. Other places like Philippines, Mozambique, Mexico. St. Helena is one that I would really love to go to because it is really interesting how it's an Atlantic population, So it's usually bigger individuals, and there's actually an even mix of male to female sharks, which is a bit unusual for these kind of hotspots, because usually we see, when I say we, I mean whale shark scientists and research programs, usually we're seeing a lot of boys. It's a big boys.
Where do the girls go?
I don't know. Well, we see some girls, but it's a bigger majority of boys, which is odd. So yeah, just to recap, they have a circumglobal distribution, and we tend to say now that they're actually highly mobile animals, not migratory, because migratory kind of implies that, you know, it's like a reliable journey they're making each year, and that's not necessarily true.
Just cruise around where they feel like it.
Yeah, no, they do. I have a fact that I just thought of. There was one whale shark, in fact, that was actually tracked for like 37 months, and it went from California to Tonga. I'm not sure what, I know, it's insane. I'm not sure whether they, you know, would repeat that journey, but it's such a long journey. Kind of a testament to, you know, their kind of that awesome big fish aura they got going on. Yeah, also something is worth mentioning at this point. So like when they're juveniles, you know, we're mostly seeing them in these coastal hotspots, but when they get to be adults, you know, they may be moving to places further afield, like in open oceans, so like pelagic zones. And this is where they get into a little bit more trouble, which we can talk about a little bit later on. So physiology. Whale sharks do have teeth in their mouth, but they're very, very tiny. Obviously, one big thing that people might know about whale sharks already is that they feed on plankton, so they don't really need teeth that are, you know, similar to a white shark. But they do have these very, very small teeth, about 2 millimeters. There's about 3,000 of them in their mouths. So at the moment, it's kind of maybe thought that they could be still using these for like mating purposes, because when sharks mate, they'll usually bite onto pectoral fins for a little bit of leverage. So in terms of teeth, they also have skin teeth. They're very large bodies are covered in these skin teeth, or dermal denticles as they're like formally known. So you can see in the middle picture here is very a microscopic image actually of those dermal denticles. These are really, really hydrodynamic. They are very parasite resistant, so they've got very tough skin, so it's going to resist all the nasty things that they could pick up in the ocean. Also, as I mentioned earlier on about the eyeballs, you can see this whale shark, they always kind of look a bit like they have a constant face of worry when you look at them very closely to their eyes. But yes, we actually recently found, the Georgia University and Osaka, I think, did a study where they found that whale sharks have armored eyeballs. They have very... So cool.
I'm so excited about this.
Cool. Yeah. Sorry, I wasn't giving you room to be like, oh my gosh, so cool, because it is cool. You can see how jammy my smile is when I talk about it. But yeah, so they have really strong eyeball dermal denticles. They're actually different in formation and sort of shape to the ones that we're getting all across the body. They're sort of evolved more for like abrasion resistance and things like that. And they can actually retract them pretty far in when they feel threatened. So yeah, this is something that sharks can do if they feel threatened by something. They'll retract their eyeball, or, you know, kind of like a signal, like, oh, I don't want you.
I don't like it.
I don't like it. So feeding, like I said earlier, they eat plankton. They also eat very small fish as well. But I'm sure you guys have, if you've seen pictures of whale sharks, you'll see them carrying out just either the very passive form of feeding, which we'll look at in a moment, or the very active suction feeding. But basically the mechanism works by the plankton in the water column is there, it's just living it up in the water column, and the whale shark comes along and eats it all. So the water filters in with the plankton, and yeah, small fish as well. In some areas, I think that whale sharks actually eat krill, certain types of krill in Mozambique. So yeah, the water passes in with the plankton, and And the whale shark filters it out in these sort of hairy red structures called gill rakers. And then the excess water passes through. So I do have a video of ram filter feeding. So this is the kind of passive form that whale sharks will do. So they'll just swim along, you know, really, really gently, not having to work too hard with their big wide mouth open.
Lazy feeding.
Lazy feeding, yeah, like I'm sure a lot of us have done over lockdown.
Just kind of,
yeah. So this is a very low energy kind of way of feeding. But if the whale shark was to come across a very dense patch, it might do this kind of feeding. This is suction feeding. So I actually haven't seen this ever. We don't get this happening a lot in South Ari where I work. So yeah, this kind of feeding, a lot more energy is taken to really hoover up the dense patches of plankton. I'm just gonna have a sip of water, guys.
Feel free. Whilst you're doing that, we've had a comment from someone, from Jamie. He says, we'd welcome you to join our research team here on St. Helena. So job done.
Oh my gosh. Oh, that would be amazing. No, I was very jealous of my colleague Clara, who also works for the Maldives Whale Shark Research Program. She saw about 30 sharks in one day.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, just incredible, incredible. So yes, so thank you, Jamie.
There you go.
This is all stuff that Jamie will know. Oh gosh. Anyway, we'll talk a little bit about whale shark behavior. So when I'm working in field, and again, we'll sort of move on to specifically what I do later, but we'll just give you like a brief summary of whale sharks right now. We're classifying behaviors as feeding, or cruising, evasive, inquisitive, or interaction. So I've got some videos for that as well. So cruising is the behavior that's mostly associated with the thermoregulation process that whale sharks need to do. So usually we think they're, you know, like I said, they're deep diving, but of course it's going to be really cold down there. It's going to be very cold and low in oxygen. So the whale shark needs to come back up and regulate its body temperature. So in that time when we're seeing it, that very slim portion of time when we're seeing whale sharks cruising along, it's really important to kind of give them their space so they can come out of this very like lethargic phase. That is very important for their health. So this is inquisitive behavior. Inquisitive behavior, I just have to say first up, it is amazing to witness. This is usually characteristic in like smaller sharks who, you know, maybe they haven't seen a snorkeler before, they haven't seen a few. Very exciting. Don't fall too much. It's all very exciting. So yeah, I would say if you ever encounter an inquisitive shark, just be.
That would be amazing, wouldn't it? That's the dream.
Yeah. It is amazing. No, I've had some really inquisitive encounters. It was very special. Evasive behaviour, unfortunately, this can happen a lot if you have busy encounters, which can happen with, you know, whale sharks being a beautiful big spotty fish. Of course, people want to see them, but a lot of people want to see them all at the same time. But evasive behaviour is basically characterised by the whale shark making abrupt turns maybe, or just descending straight off the reef, or swimming fast because it just wants to get the heck out.
Looking stressed.
Yeah, this is what we don't want to see. Oh. Interaction. So interaction is incredible. I've only seen it once, and the whale sharks were actually, one of them was interested, the other one was a bit like, whoa, I don't want to talk to you. Basically interaction, you know, here we have Fuzzer and Usher, I want to say, who are in our database. So you can see they'll literally just circle around each other, you know, that maybe they're thinking, what are you? I mean, do they know they're with one of their own kind? We don't know a lot about this behavior really. We know that they're maybe checking each other out. We don't know at this moment in time whether they're sending, you know, they're sending each other chemical signals in the water. They, you know, what
do they spend more time on their own or in large groups, or does it just depend?
Yeah, so generally they're solitary animals. You won't really see them together unless they're coming together for like food, the same food as manta rays as well. Like they'll have a plankton party and all come together. So generally,
like other sharks, basically, like most other sharks.
Yeah, generally they're alone. They're lone rangers and they're wandering the oceans alone. Oh, such a sad life. Moving on from interaction, we have reproduction. Now, this is something we don't know a lot about. Some of you may know that like a lot of shark species will lay eggs. So there was a question that was going around for a really long time: do whale sharks lay eggs? No, they don't. But it's a part of the process. So the way that whale sharks, as far as we know, the way that they reproduce is this process called they're oviviparous. Oviviparity. It's one of those words that you can mess up really easily.
It's a cool word to learn to say.
Yeah. So they're oviviparous. So this means that the eggs come first. They're fertilized in the female, but then they actually hatch inside the female, and the sharks are born free swimming. So I actually don't have a photo of this because it's a little bit distressing. But basically, all of the knowledge we have of whale shark reproduction comes from this one female that was fished in the 90s. So they actually found that there was about 300 odd embryos inside the shark, and they were all at different stages. And this actually kind of led people to believe that maybe they are storing sperm, they store the sperm and then just kind of release.
And could they be different dads even?
Yeah, I think it's all this. Oh my gosh, why am I having a mental blank? It's all like the same. No,
right.
I can't remember. Oh my gosh.
If people want to see those, if they do some Googling, they can find those pictures quite easily on the internet.
Oh my gosh, I don't know why I've had a mental blank. It's one of those things.
It happens to me all the time.
Oh, look, yeah. No, so these are just some very old pictures you can see here. And then this is a recent picture, I believe, from the Philippines. So obviously it's really rare to see baby whale sharks. Nobody knows like where they're going. Nobody knows where do whale sharks even go to breed. There was kind of like whisperings that it was, the Galapagos, that they were going there. Some very interesting data came back from that expedition. Actually, I think they went there for the expedition to see, these large females all coming to the Galapagos. And then they did an ultrasound on a very large female, and she wasn't pregnant.
Maybe they're just large.
Yeah, maybe she was just large. Maybe she had a really, really big meal. But yeah.
Don't judge. We're not judging, not fat shaming.
So, yes, again, like really surprising. So like a lot more studies need to be done in regards to reproduction, because there's probably so much that we need to know. And again, like this will help us to be able to, get better protections for the whale shark, which is endangered, if we know how often they reproduce. So that kind of is the segment which is, biological characteristics and distribution, all that jazz. We're going to talk a little bit more about our in-field surveys. So like I said, we're a research program, and what we do is we go out and conduct surveys on our MPA, our marine protected area, about 5 days a week. And this is just a little gallery to sort of show you guys like what that looks like sometimes.
Looks like a terrible job, Chloe.
It's a terrible job. Oh, I miss it so much. But it's really lovely getting to just talk to people about fish. So not the biggest fish. So yeah, you can just see like this is our boat that we survey on. It's a very beautiful traditional Maldivian boat. The day kind of consists of sunshine and rain and sometimes engagement, and obviously in our whale shark encounters you can see here this is actually me and Bassif, our lead coordinator, trying to take measure of shark, and I can tell you now it is difficult. And then the day kind of like concludes with a little bit of data input, which is very important.
The world of marine biologists.
Yes, yeah, lots of data input, lots of data checking, making sure we've done everything right, always important. So just to
when you go out on this boat, just to show some of our kids here, you've got viewing platforms on the top of the boat just to give a good vantage, yeah?
Yeah, you kind of, you need that height to sort of spot the whale shark, which you'd think it would be really easy to spot whale sharks all the time because they're big, but they can be very, very elusive, very hard to spot, especially
quite
when
camouflaged, aren't they?
Yeah, they're well camouflaged. All those spots kind of, it looks all very similar when the water's all reflecting and the light is dancing on their back. So yeah, just to recap what I said, South Ari is where I work, and there is an MPA, so we call it Sample for short, South Ari MPA. So in the Maldives, I should actually tell you where South Ari is. So this is Alifu Atoll, Ari Atoll. So we're kind of somewhere around here. So this little map here, you can see is kind of around that area.
For those that don't know, Maldives is basically lots and lots of very tiny islands, right?
Lots of tiny islands.
Beautiful as well.
Yeah, very beautiful, very picturesque. The island I work on actually, or that we're based on, is Dagura. So this is a very beautiful island. It's not very big. How
long does it take to walk around it?
To walk around, I've actually never walked around it, but if you walk the length of it, it doesn't take very long at all. But I love walking, and it's very funny that my Bassett doesn't enjoy walking that much. So whenever I'm like, yeah, let's go walk to the end of the island, he's kind of like, oh my god, it's so long. It's really not long. Anyway, a little bit of Infield in jokes. So yeah, Dagura is where we're based, and this is the start of the MPA. So the MPA actually extends about 43 kilometers round to this point called Rangali. And then there's a 1 kilometer boundary. So the whale sharks are protected all in this area. And this is where they're basically aggregating year round. So we're seeing them here all year. Sometimes they kind of move to different parts depending on the season. So sort of in monsoon season, it's more Dagura. Oh, where's my mouth gone? It's more like Dagura to this island, all the way up to this island of Ariadu. Because basically the plankton like shifts. I mean, the predominant behavior we see in South Ari is mostly cruising behavior, but the area kind of facilitates their feeding as well. So the plankton shifts, so they're kind of spotted here in monsoon season, and then in high season they're kind of spotted Marmagili and Fushi all the way up to Rangali area. So they have a nice bit of range to work around. So why are whale sharks in South Ari? So what we've found over the years of our research is that whale sharks are mostly in South Ari, kind of engaging in their cruising behaviors mostly. So the area, the way that the reef is kind of formed is very, very deep, so that facilitates their feeding. And then it goes to very, very shallow and warm waters. And it's also a very safe area for these whale sharks that are juveniles. So it's kind of, we call it like a secondary nursery. So it's very safe for them, and it kind of has everything they want in an area until they go on to until they grow up, maybe to sort of a bigger size, and they kind of start exploring maybe like other atolls. I'll talk about that in a minute actually, yeah. So yeah, some more things that we found, just fast facts. We found that 81% of them are males. So like a lot of other coastal aggregations that I mentioned earlier, a lot of males. So yet to find out what driving factor of that is. The average size in the sort of Maldives in our database is around like 5.5. So the maximum size is around 11. So the bigger whale sharks in the Maldives, we generally see them in places like Formula, which is the very deep south of the Maldives. So this is an area where it's like pelagic water facing, they've got big open ocean. So we see more like large females there. Again, we were going to hopefully study that this year, but because of the pandemic, it's been put on hold, which is very sad because it was a very exciting expedition. but more to be discovered, eh? So we've had individuals make inter-atoll movements, 11 in the year of 2018, but I think there's been about 43 or possibly more now that have made that journey in between atolls. So this is really interesting that they're doing this, you know, it's more the subadult kind of ones, the ones that are a little bit older than juveniles. The subadults are kind of maybe exploring a little bit further afield. And also we've found that injured whale sharks tend to spend a longer time at South Ari Atoll and less time absent than non.
It's a good place to rest up.
Yeah, it's a good place for them to rest up and recuperate. But then it's kind of also a catch-22 because like a lot of other, like a lot of whale shark hotspots in the world, you know, it's kind of, they're there for the safety, but then it's also not always the safest place because of human impact. And
everybody comes to see them, yeah.
Everybody wants a piece. So yeah, I'm just gonna move on to how we identify individuals, because this is really the backbone of our work. Like our aim is to kind of, you know.
Oh, just quickly, so somebody's just asked, and they said, sorry if I missed, any ideas how many whale sharks are in the area, population abundance?
So we actually have in our database, we have 492 whale sharks that have been identified. So yeah, that number is nicely creeping up to 500 because lots of people are sending us their encounters. So this is something really important. While we actually can't be in the field, the way that we identify whale sharks lends itself really, really well to other people being able to contribute their encounters to our database. So that is really important. And I would just say, like, if you go on holiday to the Maldives or anywhere else, you can actually contribute your whale shark encounter to the worldwide database, which is called WildBook. But yeah, just to recap just to this, identifying individuals. So yeah, we identify individuals by taking a photo of the fingerprint. Well, there, we call it a fingerprint. It's, you know, obviously their spot pattern, but we call it a fingerprint. So we take a photo of the pectoral side, which kind of gives us an image of their spot pattern. And we have a piece of software which basically maps the spots on the whale shark. So we're able to sort of run it through a program which will then identify it as, oh, this is your whale shark 337 Shaiban, or, oh, you know, we didn't get a match. This is perhaps a new individual, which is always very exciting. But yeah, just to go over the benefits of this, oh God, I'm getting my words tongue-tied. Benefits are that it's really easy, it's non-invasive, you know, we don't have to kind of, you know, bother them too much because it's literally just a photo.
We had exactly the same yesterday with Mary, and she was talking about great white sharks and looking at their dorsal fin and just saying exactly the same, that, you know, you just have to take a photo. So it's so relatively easy.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of animals where it is literally a lot of photo ID, like mantas and turtles. When we're out in the field, we're contributing our manta and turtle encounters to other charities and research organizations as well. So Manta Trust and Olive Ridley Project. So yes, it's always worth taking photos of animals anyway. But if you do, just make sure that you do it in a way that doesn't bother them. So yeah, it's really effective for tracking the number of individuals, the movements they're making, and just overall health. So when I enter an encounter, we will usually take, you know, the all-important fingerprint photos, take a top shot and a sex shot, and then any other kind of photos which indicate, you know, whether they have injuries. We'll usually take progress shots of injuries so we can track their healing.
We've got a little ID file.
Yeah. Yes, many files, many.
And we just had a follow-up question about the abundance. It said, any idea how many animals visit the area a year? And said that's awesome that there's 400 catalogued as well.
Yeah. Well, how many animals visit a year? I mean, we have what's that number? We have about 5,000 or 7,000 encounters around the Maldives. So I don't know, there could be more that are visiting the Maldives, you know, yearly. But obviously we need to sort of identify and quantify.
A hard number to come up with, isn't it?
Yeah, there's probably more, which is very exciting. So yeah, we just need to get back out there and get ideal, really. Oh, I've already been on here for a while. So I'm just going to quickly show you a couple other things that we'll do in an encounter other than taking the ID photo. You know, this happens, measuring a whale shark happens. Not a lot, because basically the whale shark needs to be exhibiting the correct kind of behaviors. It needs to be a lone encounter ideally, and it needs to be sort of cruising very slowly and, you know, very calm, non-evasive behaviors. So usually we'll do a visual estimate, like we get into an encounter and it's photo ID, visual estimates, and, you know, just lots of observational data. So it's always really valuable when we can actually take measure of a whale shark. Laser photogrammetry, we actually need to do a bit more of this. Another way of measuring a whale shark is with this very nifty contraption, which is basically a GoPro camera. And then we have two lasers, which are set about, I think it's 50 centimeters apart. So we can actually take that image. It's also worth mentioning that the lasers don't harm the whale shark, don't worry.
Yeah, lasers and sharks, it's all gone a bit Austin Powers.
No, yeah, so the lasers don't harm it, but yeah, they're basically projected on there, and then from that photo and that data we can then sort of calibrate, you know, like how
bit
big.
Easier than manhandling tapes and things.
Yeah, I can tell, you know, it's possibly a bit easier, but it's very exciting to take measuring. Right, so fecal samples. This doesn't happen very often.
Just explain to our younger viewers what a fecal sample is.
Yeah, don't worry. So fecal samples are poo, and a whale shark poo does not happen a lot. I've never seen it, but when it does, it's very valuable to scoop up that poo. And I forgot there was sound with this video.
People were very excited. It's whale shark poo.
Yeah, no, it is exciting. It's exciting because basically we can, you know, get that tested in a lab and sort of, you know, figure out what is the whale shark eating. We can tell things like overall health from this, you know, and obviously like in today where plastic is a big issue, we can actually tell whether the whale shark is ingesting microplastic, which we actually conducted a study for last year. So yeah, very worrying kind of things that we found in these samples that were collected. Things like microfibers from clothing, and oddly enough, I think there was like small computer components. So yeah, this will move on to a little bit in a little bit in regards to threats. Just to finish off the data collection part, we also take environmental variables. So obviously, like, we'll collect data on the shark individuals themselves, but it's also very valuable for us to know, like, you know, what's happening with the environment that the shark is living in. So we'll collect vessel logs and megafauna kind of data, but then we'll also do these variables. So we'll measure things like the visibility that's happening here with our lovely disc. We will measure things like surface current with our GPS. We'll just mark coordinates, and then there's like a little equation that's done to work out the surface current. We have this anemometer to measure the wind direction, the wind speed, and then also the temperature we'll measure as well, which is an alarming 30 degrees here. Somebody is dunking that right in.
That's a bit warm, isn't it, for some things, corals and things?
Yeah, hopefully it's a bit cooler than when I was last there. So this is really important for you guys if you're kind of excited to learn more about the whale shark, see it in person. Some things that you got to remember for just having the best encounter for you, and also the best encounter for the shark. You know, they're not tactile animals. They're not animals that like to be petted or touched. So I really have to stress that you don't touch or ride or chase them. I know you won't, because you're very
No, We know our viewers wouldn't, but
yeah. Oh, gosh. You'd be surprised how many people I see trying to touch them in photographs, but we won't get onto that. So don't take any flash photography. So like it kind of startles me. I hate photos of myself, so it kind of startles the whale shark as well. So try not to take flash photos. Don't swim directly in front of a whale shark's face. It basically guarantees that it will just again get startled and it will want to leave the encounter. And just try not to like restrict the movement of the whale shark, and try and keep 4 meters distance away from the shark, so it has enough room to kind of turn or leave if it wants to, and also it's safer for you both. So yeah, that's just a little insight into guaranteeing that you're kind of going to leave the least impact on the shark, and also keep yourself safe if you ever get to be lucky enough to see a whale shark. We're just going to quickly go through threats. Very big one. Like I said, there's like not a lot that we're trying to know and learn more about the whale shark, and it's already at the state where it's an endangered species. So time is really pressing for us to learn more when it's facing all these threats. So things like boat collision, injuries from vessels that are going too fast. You can see here there's quite major lacerations to the shark's body. So the human impact here, we need to slow down when we're on the water, just be aware, because they're creatures that are cruising very close to the surface when we're kind of seeing them. A big one, aside from this, is being a victim of bycatch. So for younger viewers, bycatch is basically when animals are caught and they're not the target species of what is being fished. So you might be able to see here in this very, very large net, there is a shark sort of caught up in there. I think the fishermen are working to get it free, but sadly in these situations, it's very stressful for a shark. And obviously if you're caught in a net, you're not going to be able to swim freely and have that water passing over your gills and having the oxygen. So it can be really detrimental to the shark's health if it ends up in this situation. We don't have a photo of it here because they're quite graphic images, but shark finning still happens. Whale sharks' fins are unfortunately highly prized on the black market. So their fins can actually sell for $20,000 for the full set, but this is like nothing in comparison to how much a whale shark is worth alive. The sort of local revenue bringing over the span of its life it far outweighs hunting it and killing it.
This is the thing, isn't it? If we can make them more valuable alive than they are dead, all the money that those tourists can bring.
It's actually a really interesting social issue, though, a bit complex for like the younger viewers of the audience, but it's it also comes down to that kind of social injustice kind of element as well. If you're an impoverished person and you have to feed a family, it's going to be very tempting, but hopefully there can be other sources of income for these.
Exactly. Yeah, that's I guess the goal, isn't it?
Just lastly, like I mentioned earlier, microplastics is a big threat to whale sharks and their overall health. So yeah, as you can see from these pictures, it's very overwhelming. So just to sum it all up at the end, how can you help the whale sharks? So there's a few things you can do. If you can't be there in person to like help with data collection, things like that, you can take time to learn about whale sharks. So you're already doing this, yeah, so that's amazing. If you're like me, where you stay at home and just watch lots of documentaries and listen to David Attenborough all day, that's learning too. So you should definitely and just read and do all those things. Choose sustainable seafood. So this is just a big one overall. Obviously, everybody is very aware of sustainability these days. So the choice to choose seafood that has a lower impact, it's a good thing to research if you can. Minimize your plastic consumption so that, it doesn't degrade and break down into microplastics. And all the bad things. Support policies which preserve and protect whale sharks, and sign petitions. All those things help. It's an action that you can take from, at home. There's actually a petition at the moment to kind of combat the 20 or 40 kg allowance for shark fins that are allowed to come into the UK. So I would highly recommend signing that petition to stop the finning from happening, and from it being facilitated and moved across parts of the UK. Partake in citizen science. So this is what I was mentioning earlier. Very, very helpful for organisations like MWSRP who can't be in the field, especially now with Corona. And volunteer and donate and share our research if you can't donate. Those things are all really helpful. Obviously, I'm biased, but I would highly recommend volunteering.
Well, as you've got to that, we've had a number of questions, which I haven't answered because I knew we'd be coming to this point, from a number of people who are asking about how to get involved, and do you take interns? I'm just trying to look through here. Are you open to university students who work on their dissertations? Can members of the public help ID whale sharks online? I think probably the software does that anyway, doesn't it? But I don't know. Yeah. So how can, some of our perhaps older viewers who are graduates or new graduates or students who might be interested in kind of joining what you do as and when coronavirus opens things up?
Yeah, for sure. We have, the aim for next year, we're hoping that our research and our volunteer program can get up and running again early next year. Obviously that's subject to everything that's happening, but I'm really hoping for early next year. So if you guys want to email us at info@MaldivesWhaleSharkResearch.org, you can find it on our socials, the place to
go. We've tagged you in all of our things, so it should be fairly easy to find.
Yeah, but there are volunteer positions, or there will be volunteer positions next year, which we would love to have more people on, and there will also be maybe the chance for internships, depending. So yeah, please do get in touch about volunteering. And also, if anyone is in a position to donate to the Maldives Whale Shark Research Programme, we have a fundraiser linked in on our socials at the moment. It would really help us be able to continue our research and get back out there next year, because
it's a tough time, isn't it, for organisations like yourselves?
Yeah, it's a tough time to we're all working on a voluntary basis, and we do it because there's no question about it. We really love, we want to preserve the whale shark, and we really love our job, so we're going to do it regardless. But yeah, thank you so much, guys.
Well, just finally, we had just one more question, which I thought would be interesting to, because we've had lots of people saying, I want to be a marine biologist when I grow up. And Maxine has asked, hi, Chloe, thank you for your talk. Can you talk a bit more about your background, please? How did you end up doing such a wonderful job?
Yeah, I'd love to talk about this, because actually it's kind of, I came here from a very funny background. I studied costume making at university, so completely different. I come from a creative background, so it's really odd. And then I did some volunteering with Maldives Whale Shark Research Programme, and it kind of just ignited all this, the passion that had always been there, but kind of, you're in that treadmill of school, college, uni, and then I had this time where I was like, oh, I really love fish, and I really want to talk about fish all the time, and learn so yeah, I went and did quite a lot of volunteering, which just used all my savings, which wasn't but I went and did that, and then I came back as an intern, and then it kind of just progressed from there. I had a guiding job before I got my assistant job with MWSRP. Hopefully, just want to say to some of the people who are maybe going to come from a different background, it is still valuable. There's been a lot of times in my job actually where my creative skills have been put to really good use, like when we do.
Somebody's just said costume skills are useful for measuring.
Yeah, actually, it's really funny. Sometimes I consider, like, isn't that weird that, you know, I used to measure, you know, fabric, and now I measure whale shark. Yeah, it's
There's so many people in marine conservation, myself included, that come from a different background, others who've done a more traditional route through marine biology undergraduate and so on, but there's room for everybody, I think.
I think so. I think the main thing is just, you know, having that passion, and it takes, I'm not gonna lie, like, you know, it takes it out of you at times, you know, when I remember when I was back doing my costume job and I was trying to do all these things on the side to, like, you know, keep that passion sort of, you know, very active. I actually ended up sort of creating my own opportunity while I was in London and being very sad generally. I created my own opportunity to host an event, like a marine conservation event, and just get out there and partake in as much as you can. If you're kind of in like a low period where not much is happening and you feel like it's really hard to achieve that sort of, you know, that goal to work in conservation, you know, just keep going. I know it's really difficult, and yeah, but I would just say keep going. So that is my very funny route to MWSRP, and hopefully I'm going to do a master's at some point, and yes, really fight that imposter syndrome, and get belt. But yeah, any other questions for anyone?
I think we've more or less covered, apologies if we've missed an individual, I think we've got most of the kind of themes of the questions. If not, pop them in the comments and we'll do our best to answer them after the event. But just gonna put us front and center again. So yeah, thank you so much, Chloe. That's been really fascinating. There's been so many comments there about how many people have enjoyed that, and so I think, I know there's always lots of interest in the lovely whale sharks. So yes, please go and check out the Maldives Whale Shark Research Project. We've got lots of links there. Also on our own WiseOcean page, you'll see links to the expedition page that they have there. So lots of opportunities. Sign up to our Wise Work newsletter. You'll get all the latest, when opportunities come up with Maldives Whale Shark Research Project, they'll be there as well. So with all those different ways, and you want to get involved with whale shark research, then you know that's easy to do. So we will say farewell to everybody here. So thank you everyone for watching. What else have we got with Shark Week this week? Well, tomorrow there'll be our family-friendly tea time shark quiz at 6 o'clock. Come over here onto Facebook Live again, and I'll be here with some shark questions for all the family. And we also still have a giveaway happening. Check on our timeline for details about that, and the results will be on Friday. And that will be the end of our little Shark Week, which I do declare has been very successful. So we're going to be doing more things like this, I think. So that's great. So farewell, everybody. Thank you to Chloe, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you. Thanks for having me all. Bye-bye.